Alright guys, what I want to show you today is a variation of the treadle trap. Must apologize for the wind, it is getting late afternoon. What I've done to keep the video quite short is I've prepped a lot of the pieces of equipment that you're going to use to make this treadle trap. Most of you guys have seen a treadle trap and know how to make the components. In case you don't, what we've done is we've cut a stick times two that is shaped like this. The reason why these are nice and long are because the ground is quite soft around here, and we're using a piece of bungee cord instead of a springy bow for our trap mechanism to provide the engine, because we're not lucky enough to have a springy bow right over this game path that we are in at the moment. What I've done here is I have 3 strands of 4mm shock cord, which I have purchased from most hardware stores stock them. I've got about 3 or 4 meters in my packet most times. I have not cut this cord because obviously you want to keep the length. What I've done is I've actually, in the bow above us, timber hits, just tripled it up like that. I've left a loop over here for our snare line to go through, and then I've attached a piece of black 4mm paracord to a dog bone toggle. You are probably well affay with the dog bone toggle. You know how it works, but you will see now as I proceed with this trap demo how this firing mechanism will work. The other components, as I said, are the 2 uprights which will hold the crossbar. I've got a pre-cut crossbar over here. As I said, I prepped this just to keep the video nice and short. I don't want to have to show you how to make stuff that you already know how to make. Then we've got the backing bar, and then the variation that I want to show you today is this is the treadle mechanism. And the reason why we're using this piece of 20mm bamboo, which we've split down the center, is we're trying to catch game bird. And what we're going to do is, what I've done already is I've sprinkled some seeds and nuts on the ground over here in the area where we want to attract the game bird. Further, we are going to pour some of the seed and nut bait into this treadle bar itself, and that's why we're using a piece of split bamboo, because the bait will then lie in this treadle bar and obviously attract the game bird to the treadle, but you will see that in a moment. Alright, I'm going to go ahead, take my trusty neck knife, just give these uprights a little bit of a sharpen. They don't have to be razor sharp, they just want to penetrate the ground nicely. And then my backing bar, same thing, just want to knock it in. Like I said, the ground's real soft, you don't have to do too much whacking of the stakes, but you do want a little bit of a sharpness just to create some penetration. So I'm going to go ahead and show you how to assemble this. Essentially we're going to take our first one, take the back of my axe and just tap this in. Not too deep, you can always adjust it a little later if you want to. Take your crossbar, you don't want to make it too long, so you want to make it basically about 1 inch on either end of the crossbar to give you nice clearance for dog bone toggle. So I'm going to go ahead and knock that one in. Just try and keep it in line. Just tap it in nicely. Obviously you want to make sure that the downward pointing fork are both at the same height. As you can see, that one's a little high, so I'm going to go ahead, tap that fella down a little bit more so that my crossbar is nice and even. There we go, crossbar is in place. So now what's going to happen now is you're going to stretch your bungee cord, shock cord, whatever you want to call it, and then the dog bone toggle goes around your crossbar like that. Alright, so what happens is when the treadle's released, the dog bone flips up and the bungee cord contracts, shock cord contracts, and then hoists your loop up into the tree. Okay, so what we want to do now is go ahead and just put this dog bone in place, hold it at the back. Make sure when you're setting your traps, guys, that should this dog bone accidentally slip off the treadle or slip out of your hand, that you're well away, that it doesn't whip up and whack you in the face. So this is the treadle bar, which we're going to hold in place with our thumb and forefinger, and then we want to kind of just figure more or less where to put our back bar. It looks like that's about there. just going to go ahead and stick it in a little bit. Right, release this mechanism. Right, give it a couple of taps just to put it in place. Not too deep. Go ahead and check that that's still alright. Come back a little bit. I can just set it a little bit like that with your hand. Give it a couple of nudges there. Alrighty. Okay, so as you can see how this thing is taking shape, more or less like that. Okay, so now I'm going to crank down our loop. What I've done here is take another piece of 4mm paracord. It goes in through this loop. Just hold it down like so you can see. So you insert the tag in through the loop, wind it around a couple of times, then back out through the loop, and it'll then attach itself nice and taut to that. You can see here, it should give us reasonably okay-ish clearance. Now they're not, once it's whipped up, you're not really going to be able to hoist this bird up into the tree. Shock cord's not really designed for that, but it does just give that bit of a kick to be able to snap the loop up tight. So we're going to go ahead and set this thing up. So grab your knot, pull down your dog bone. Okay, you want to keep this loop, you can try and chuck it over your shoulder just so it stays out of the way. Okay, hook the dog bone around, get the toggles in place, and you want to put your treadle bar in. Now the trick with this treadle bar is you've got to try and set it so that it just bites the treadle like that. You want to set it real fine so that when the guinea fowl or the game bird, francolin, whatever you're trying to trap, in your case maybe wild turkey, pecks on the treadle bar to get at the seeds and nuts, that'll knock down that treadle bar and release the dog bone toggle. The thing about setting it so fine is you've got to be quite careful that when you're baiting it up, that you don't accidentally knock off the treadle. Okay, very gently you're going to actuate your loop to a nice round size like that, and very carefully you want to place it over the top of the bar. I'll get something I can point with here so you can see. This is your bar that's holding the dog bone toggle. From your loop line to there, you want to keep this loop on the front end of this crossbar so that it doesn't get hung up when this bar fires off and the loop extends up into the tree. I just want to set that down a little bit more so it's actually lying on the bar so the wind doesn't blow it around. So essentially the rest like that. Now I've got a packet of spare seeds and nuts over here, so brought along for this exercise. Scoop some out of my hand and then pour it real gentle into my treadle bar like that. Just careful don't drop too much in there, otherwise you might set it off by accident. Take the leftovers, you just sprinkle it around as a little bit of an attractor. Essentially most game birds like to scratch for their food, peck it with the stuff that they've scratched, mostly seed nuts, small insects, stuff like that. Obviously it's going to be quite difficult to catch small insects to put in there. This is a small zip baggie of mixed assortment of chicken feed that you get from most farm stores, pet shops, stuff like that. That's really good for game birds, they like it. It's got a mixture of seeds, nuts, crushed corn, stuff like that. It'll work real good. So there we go, set up, ready to go. We'll come back in a few moments to see how it's done. This is Big Bear in the Outdoors. Thanks for watching.